Hello, hello, hello. How's everybody doing today? Oh, my brain is so absolutely fried today. But yeah, I appreciate you all being here and coming to hang out, even though we're not doing something super energetic. Dwarf, Dwarf, you worry too much about things. You're absolutely fine. I'm just mentally fried today, so I want to keep things a bit chill and relax this evening. You know? Play some Minecraft and relax for a while. Let's see what we have here on the redeems. Where is it? Thank you, Addie, for getting first twice. Getting first initially, and then getting first again. I'm very, very proud of you. Thank you, Vanya, for getting third, and Dwarf for getting second. Your shoes make you 3 inches taller. That's kind of impressive, actually. I'm just gonna be pretty relaxed today until my brain isn't fried. I don't know what happened. I think at some point my brain just stopped existing. And so now, one second. Sorry, a car alarm went off outside. That's pleasant. Yeah. I go. My sweetie. And just for all of you who are not paying attention, you may not have heard it, that's fine. But yeah, there was a car outside just a few seconds ago that just. Uh, okay. It's funny, I'm trying to be relaxed and calm, and then everything is just like, hey, did you know you have a notification? Hey, did you know there's a car outside that wants to have an alarm? Hey, did you know this is. I don't want to know these things. I just want to exist and play Minecraft. Mm-hmm. Jingle me to pay attention. I need to know if the backrooms are involved. You know what? The backrooms are involved. You're paying attention to what matters. My stream. We're doing some Minecraft today. Mm-hmm. I guess actually this will make up for Sunday's morning ASMR because Sunday's morning might be 7 Days to Die, which will be a lot of fun. Playing with Dar. Y'all gonna see Dar's model. And if Dar's shirt vanishes, that's not my fault. Pinky. And also, ooh, thank you so much for the redeem. Okay, we ready for some Minecraft? Some chill vibes? Dar's doing pretty well. It's been a little bit since we've gotten to play games, but he might have something going on Saturday that might cut into Sunday. All right. Oh no, come on. Work for me. There it is. And now, come on. You can do it. Function. No, it's not working. There it goes. All right, Mitchie, you have a good one. You have a lovely one. Chat, you might notice that, you got paid? I'm glad you got paid. Mitchie. Okay, Mitchie, you have to legally stay. I'm sorry. Good evening, Maple. How you doing? So y'all might notice that this world is slightly different than the world that y'all came into. This hi Palmo. This. Oh, 1 second. Did I respond? I might have played a little bit of the hardcore world more because I just wanted to decorate a little bit and yeah. So I made this little area that I thought was cute. It's got a little water feature, and it's got a bed, and it's just, a little space, but it'll look nicer later. I need glass. But yes, you take care of yourself, okay? And Penguin, I'm doing well. How are you doing? At least I didn't die. I could have died. I did die, Chad, actually. I recreated this world from scratch. It's kind of impressive, isn't it? Hi, Nia. Acknowledge Vanya. Did I not acknowledge Vanya? I thought I said hi to Vanya. No, Vanya said you... No, what? Chat. Sweeties. Vanya said you were playing it in our 3-hour call, and my response was that I know I could have died. Actually, chat, I did die. I am responding to you, Vanya. I'm just not saying your name because that's not how conversations work. Hi, Pinky. I'm glad. Pinky. I'm firing all the mods. I'm replacing all of the mods. I'm exclusively mining gravel with a pickaxe now. No, I'm not firing you, Vanya. Yo, let my brain be fried. Give me a break today. My brain is fried. I cannot be too emotionally invested right now. I'm just getting rid of. I've decided to actually stop streaming forever. No more streams. Streaming is done. Fine, I can free the mods a little bit, I guess. What redeem? Oh, I'm such a good doggy. Enjoy your eeps, Niam. Enjoy your eeps. I will delete all streams. No, congratulations on the job application. I hope your job application is doing really well. You're gonna do really good with that job application. Where is my pickaxe? You got this with your job application. Thank you. I try to be therapeutic, especially when talking about job applications. Okay, that guy's gonna annoy me being here. Yeah, well, I wish you all the best. Of course. Oh. I understand the joke now. Might be... Yeah, Yuki, tell me something wild. Go for it. Yummy seaweed. Okay. Alright, Moxie. Have fun. Really? Why would they do that? I mean, I would hope satire. Unless those teachers just seem like they'd be a really good pair. And why did they write the fanfic? Fair enough. Most people have their own reasons. Oh, jeez. Chat, all I have for food is grain. It is like we have the seaweed, of course. But I don't think it grows fast enough to be sustainable. Oh wait, I'm dumb. Idea. Gonna do this. So I can mine on the bottom. Nice. Alright. Thank you for the like, Robin. I really appreciate it. Oh. It happens constantly, you know. Teachers and their affairs. You're a Care Bear? Like the thing with the, What? Oh, yeah. First we must do the Leo, and then we can do the Southern. I do think it's funny that these voices always get redeemed between them. It's like, why must one voice come and then the next one come? I have to spend the whole time in one, and then wait, and then the other one. Neeks can tell you. Oh, okay, well then maybe I will ask Neeks. How you doing, Ali? Sunshine and chaos. Is that what a Care Bear is? I did not know that the Care Bears had chaos involved. But to be fair, I do not know a lot about the Care Bears. So perhaps that is correct. I did rehire you. I've already rehired you. You will always be rehired. Lovely, lovely Vanya. Thank you for coming back. Oh, they deal with, so they have to know. Okay, that's fair. That's fair, I suppose. That makes sense. Oh, you just like the Leo, is that all it is? Well, I'm glad you are a cute little Care Bear. And I hope that you enjoy being a Care Bear for as long as you are one. That's how you summon a Care Bear. Good to know, good to know. Okay. But, now, there was somebody who was complaining that I do not survive on this game long enough to do any cool build. So this time we are going to try to actually survive long enough to do a cool build. Maybe we will figure out if we could do some sort of, I don't know, sorta or something. I went on a trip to DC in high school and we got to watch in real time the US government. Teacher fall in love with the English teacher because they were both afraid of heights elevators and they took the stairs everywhere. They went. That's adorable. What are you calling me out for, Vanya? Call me out then. What are you saying? What do you want to say to me? Do not tell me that I cannot survive. Also, hello Maro, good to see you. Why are you calling me out? Oh, coffee, I forgot about this. Yes. I have not been playing it all day. I played it during our call and that's it. And I also got work done, remember? Oh. How has it been? Have you enjoyed these 15 minutes? No, I do not hate anybody. 1, 2, 3. There it is. First play, work. I don't know what you're saying. I cannot read that. If it was that easy to hate people, then life would really not be that enjoyable, would it? 1, 2, 3. That ought to work. Thank you for lurking, Dwarf. I do really appreciate it. Enjoy getting your work done. I hope it goes well. Oh, thank you for the strength. Hello, Echo Rose. Hello, Zanova. How are you doing? What is up? How is life? Well, that was almost a very bad situation, but I'm glad I was able to dodge it. That is the skills to pay the bills. And hello, Echo Infernal. You're almost at work. Oh, well, tell your workmates I say hello. Tell them that they should watch me on the Twitch, yeah? They might enjoy it. They might not. But I think it'd be very, very funny to explain to them what I am. 1, 2, 3, space. How was work, Moonlight? Did you work well? Was it good? Did you get much work done? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, okay. Echo Rose? What do you mean? I have said hello to you as well. We all are having a bit of an attitude today. Why is everyone so needy today? Do I not give enough attention normally? Is that what is happening? You can keep calling me out as much as you want, Vanya. You're entitled to that behavior, I suppose. Oh, I'm sorry you're feeling sick. Have you been taking care of yourself today? Okay. That is fine as well. But I do hope you feel better soon. I did not hang up on Vanya. I informed them that the call would be coming to an end because we are entering a dead zone. We entered the dead zone. Okay. Fair enough. That is fair. I will let you all believe what you would like to believe. That is taking much too much energy for me. Very okay. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. There it is. We are taking this on this. Well, that is very kind, Echo Infernal. I appreciate you. I am very proud of you for doing such good work. When you recover from your sickness, you'll be unstoppable. I do believe that is true. You seem like the kind who would become unstoppable after this. And when you become unstoppable, you must use your powers for evil. By that I mean to benefit me, of course. We in agreement? My lord, do you agree to help me out, Finn? That works as well. Well, of course, we are going to be a villain at some point, so you must have it. Now I can grab into this one. Alright, that's a little bit better. This one's a little bit more comfortable. Oh, man, I hate how awful the gold tools are. What's even the point of them? I do think it's funny that, they gave you these awful golden items, But then they didn't do the same thing with copper. I mean, like, you could have just made a copper version. But no. Yeah, I mean, they're fast. Fast to break. Well, I promise you won't have to wear dungarees. Is that a worry? Is that what happens in England? All the minions gotta wear dungarees? Oh, it's a unique situation, ain't it? Alright. We'll let the food grow. Let's go see if we can place some pumpkin seeds real quick. Maybe I'll place a little bit more sunlight. Not sunlight, I suppose, just torches. Why are you yelling about job applications? I have not seen Despicable Me, I'm sorry. Maybe one day. Adulting is for nerds. Adulting is for nerds. And shall we know what you all are? You all a bunch of nerds, ain't you? Bunch of nerds, the nerdiest nerds that ever nerd a nerd. Goofy little nerds. You'll find me in Minecraft. Bet. Oh, well. That ain't what I wanted. Can I fish in this? I'm so good at fishing, chat. Oh, why's it gotta be clean? Do y'all think that counts? I don't know if I'll ever catch anything in that spot right there. I'll let it sit and see what happens. That's fair, that's fair. What have you done, Allie? What have you done? This works? Come on. Come on. Come on, little sweetie. Oh, damn, I didn't see these ones. Ooh woo and a ara ara. Hello, Jupiter. How you doing, Jupiter, sweetie? How's the evening going? Ah, there it goes. It worked. It just very clearly go. Can y'all explain that one? Well, I can't do it in this voice, chat. Because I want food. I'm doing pretty good. I am doing pretty good. Feeling very sleepy myself, so I decided to do a boring Minecraft stream today. A little bit of the ASMR. And I think we can finally drop it. There we go. Yeah, but fish will feed me. I do enjoy fish, actually. It depends on the kind of fish, though. I had flounder recently, and it really wasn't the best. No, it apparently does not. It just worked a few seconds ago, Jimmins. Come on. Come on. And there it is. Right. Hmm. Who's Navir? Wait. Who are you all talking about? I want to learn something today. Hmm. What is she from? Really? I love books. The Remarried Empress. Oh. Interesting. I do have a Discord, but the Discord requires ID verification, and I know a lot of people aren't comfortable with that. You can do exclamation point Discord though if you'd like to try to join it. Hmm. I believe in you. I'm gonna be honest, I think I'm kind of enjoying the fishing. Just existing and fishing. And our subby hubby. Oh, why do I think you're just a fan because of the subby hubby? It's relaxing. Mm-hmm. The subby hubby. Mm. Come on, sweetie. Come on, you can get a bite. There it is. Ooh, a water bottle. Ain't that interesting? Got that dog in him. Oof, oof. Mm. All right, thank you. You be good. Mwah. All right. So, things we need: Nethergate, some way to get bamboo. Welcome home, JJ. Welcome home. And thank you for the follow, Fountainings. How are you doing today? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do understand the appeal of fictional men. Let's see if we can find some iron. Maybe make some progress. Oh, do I have enough? I need a single iron block so we can maybe get a shield. Shield would be so nice right now. Damn. Well. Yawn your fashion. That you heard my laugh. Oh, what's so nice about my laugh? My chuckle isn't evil. I just sound like this. It's sinister. Oh, well, my bark is a lot worse than my bite, I promise. That's my new stream name, chat. I'm gonna be Sinister Gene. I hope you're ready for it. The most sinister of sinisters. Mr. Sinister. This is almost morning, Gene. Just a little bit more awake. Don't worry, I'm slowly heading the opposite direction. Heading towards the sleeps. Chad, if I pass out, will you wake me back up? Please. I don't need apes, I need Minecraft. Because I'm very, very tired. That's why I'd pass out. Let me get my cattle prod. Why am I not surprised? Chad, trust me, you don't want to hear me sleep. I snore. And how would you know that, Jay? I just had a lot of big emotions today, chat. Really? Why do I not doubt that, King? What'd you lie about, Carmilla? What'd you lie about? And it's exclamation point Discord, no space. How could you lie like that? Why would you spread such a sin for me? Tell me. Enjoy your writing. I hope to see you soon. Sin like wild oats. From Kent's stream? Who's Kent? Navs is here all the time. This is not the first time you've wanted to bite my nose. You have such a weird habit of picking oddly specific places to bite. Oh, well, the villain arc is not supposed to be against me. Good evening, Bree, bro. I hope you're doing alright. Welcome to the stream. Oh, you had somebody raid me. My nose does not taste like cornstarch. I can guarantee that. I haven't had it at all today or yesterday. Jay, I am honestly proud of you. I really appreciate you taking care of yourself in that way. Thank you. Because Aiko, I've decided I live underground. I'm an underground living boy. I need to find a better place to live or a better place to get things. Iron, that's what I needed. Shadow the Hedgehog's a bitch-ass motherfucker. He fucked my wife. You should do it. Thank you. Jupiter, you didn't have to go through all that effort. I do really appreciate it, though. I need to find iron so badly. Iron's just so difficult to find these days. I've been there. I've been everywhere. Everything has a dead end. It's so frustrating. I think I'm just gonna dig down in a random spot and hope it goes for the best. You're betrothed to an anime character? Oh no. How'd that happen? Does the anime character know? When's the wedding? Alright, it's time to make a mistake, chat. Let's do it. 1, 2, 3. Duality. I push my fingers into my eyes. It's the only way to slowly stop the ache. But if the pain goes on, I'm not gonna make it. One second. Give me a second. Okay. I push my fingers into my eyes. It's the only thing slowly stops the ache, but it's made of all the things I have to take. And Jesus, it never ends. It works its way inside. The pain goes on. I have screamed until my veins collapsed. I've waited as my time's elapsed. Now all I do is live with so much hate. I wished for this, I've bitched for that. Left behind this little fact. You cannot kill what you did not create. I've gotta say what I've gotta say, and then I swear I'll go away. But I can't promise you'll enjoy the noise. I guess I saved the best for last. My future is like one big past. You left with me because you gave me no choice. I pushed my fingers into my eyes, the only thing that slowly stops the ache. But it's made of all the things I have to take. Jesus, it never ends and pushed its way inside. But if the pain goes on, I'm not gonna make it. That is Duality by Slipknot. Sorry, you said duality. And so I had to sing Duality by Slipknot. I can't believe nobody got my joke. It was so funny. I would love to read poetry aloud. Would you like to send me some poetry to read? I still actually owe a few people a poetry reading. There's nothing here. Thank you, Moreau. Yes. Send it in chat, please. See, that's why me and Moreau get along, chat. It was quite nice. God, it does sound like an emo poem, doesn't it? I used to write things like that, chat. Oh, I used to write things like that. And oh, no. Do you want to know the scummiest thing I ever did when it came to writing poetry? I didn't like the spot going down. No, not DeviantArt. I had a heartbreak. And so I wrote a heartbreak poem about one girl. And it was really dark and edgy. And then I gave it to another girl and said it was a love poem for her. I was like 13. And she's like, this doesn't seem like a love poem. I'm like, no, but like, read between the lines. Hey, I have massively improved as a person, even from 13. I was a little shitbag. Alright, we're using a shovel exclusively for aura, by the way. Oh, I was a little slut. At 13. I had my first kiss and I was like, God damn, I need to have more kisses. Yes, I learned about shovels. Each word is an escape, each poem gives none, each mess is a mistake, each smile to be undone. Each scream will be silent, each action will be violent, each move will be compliant, each hope will be quiet, each note is a hope of words that cannot change. Oh, 1 second, I lost it. Each note is a hope of words that can't be changed, so this device's only purpose is to accommodate the pain. Nice, I like it. If I ever get a new crush, please crush my head. Got it. By the way, chat, don't forget. January, we're going to be doing our own NaNoWriMo. Yes, Jay, what's up? What's up, honey? How can I help you? We're adding an extra month to Vanya's no nutting. Oh, the spike hurt. I think it'd be very cute Be Confessed to with a song? Oh, no, sorry, we're adding, you also have to do December. You don't get to, not until, January, I apologize. No, you're right, you're right. I just met you. This is crazy. Oh, but yeah, I think it would be cute to get a love confession through a song, especially if it was a song written for me. And then I take the song, make millions off of it, and turn down the verse. No, I'm kidding. I wouldn't do that. Hey, I just met you. This is crazy. But here's my number, so call me maybe. It's Friday. Friday, gotta get down on Friday. Baking a cake. Yar, diddly dee. Being a pirate is fun and it's free. Do what you want, 'cause pirate's free. You are a pirate. Dolphin hand ass. What do you mean, dolphin hand ass? Why are you insulting my hands? What kind of goofy insult is this? Why are you insulting my hands? Oh, chat, my moderator Pinky's live. If you want to go check out Pinky, feel free to do so. All I understood is you're making fun of my hands because you hate me. Chat, don't leave. My coffee has gin in it. Don't you want to know what happens if I keep drinking my gin coffee? Yes, Vanya. Was ist los, Lieber? Was brauchst du jetzt? I mean, you clearly haven't been enough of an alcoholic. I like gin. Don't make fun of gin. Gin is tasty. Gin and juice. Hi. Night Rose. I'm doing very well. How are you doing? Did I ever tell you about the time that I went drinking with some Scottish blokes, and they were significantly smaller than I am, so I kept finishing all their drinks everywhere. Oh, you're cramping a bit? I'm sorry to hear that. Stream's been nice. Isn't this an interesting predicament? Anyways, by the end of the night, they got so drunk that they were trying to make one of those shots that you set on fire with Kahlua, which for those of you who don't know, doesn't work. Does anybody know why you can't make a flaming alcohol shot with Kahlua? walk me through this one, Desi. Do you wanna walk people through why it wouldn't work? Exactly, exactly. And the one that they had was premixed with dairy, so it was mm-hmm. It's like you're trying to light milk on fire, guy. Why do you think? What do you think's gonna happen? But they were drunk enough that they were convinced it would work if they kept trying. To be fair, they were so drunk at that point. Like they were so drunk at that point. We had gone to we'd gone to a bar that was mostly visited by underage people. We'd gone to a bar that was exclusively visited by old people. We went to a family friendly bar. We went to another bar to meet up with girls. We then went to a club. Then we went to another bar. Then we went and had drinks at one guy's house. And then we walked to the last guy's house. And they were maybe 5'2". It'd be little guys. Like, the fact that they lived by the end of the night was very impressive for me. And I'm not a club guy. I'm not a club guy. I don't really enjoy going to clubs. But, it was still, it was a lot of fun. A lot of fun. I kind of just stood awkward and then panicked the next day when I, lost my ID. Valid. But I got it eventually. I found it. Had a whole panic attack. In my head, I'm like, oh no, they're gonna find me, they're gonna track me down, and I'm gonna get in trouble. Vaughn, you're not missing out on much. I would go to a club once just to say you've been to a club and then never go again. But I could go my entire life never going to a club and be just as happy as I am now. We will go to a club together. I will take you to a club. You can have a horrible experience at a club, but I'll make sure it's at least a little bit nicer. What are you not saying? Oh, no, I'm just uncomfortable with... Janet, you're never going to get me to confess this again. Don't clip this, okay? I'm very much like a dog in the fact that if there is a lot of new people, I get too jittery. And I get too, anxious. And, I get very, very uncomfortable very quickly. I have so many dog reactions to things. I'm like a dog. I'm not a dog. I'm like a dog. I'm not a dog. Don't woo at me. Do not woo at me. Do not. Puppy. No. Shush. Goofy motherfuckers. So yeah, clubs just really, really overstimulate me, and I don't feel like I can have proper conversations. Not much for dancing. I can do a little swing dancing. Pretty much. AC, are you saying that because you think I'm a pup, or because you're just dealing with cats right now and you wanted to tell me? Mm-hmm. Bachata? Oof. I could probably pick up bachata. Jupiter, you little fiend. You little minx. Hello, Bella. Come vai? Could you promise something different? Like that you'll make me VTuber famous. Nah. Come vai, Momo? Ciao, Bella. Shit. Okay, new world. Alright, chat, I need a name for this one. What are we gonna name the world, and what should the seed be? Pangea. And the seed will be Puppy. Novice team leader Doggo. I only go off the first names I see. Alright, chat, you ready? 15 minutes on the clock. 15 minutes on the clock. Would y'all let me know when the 15 minutes are up? I think we should have, that should be... Thank you, Addie, I appreciate it. And remember, if you go over the time, I will immediately join the trout population. So don't try to give me extra time. Oh. Hello, Shimiel. How are you, Snow? Only puppies are allowed in this world. You lie. I see no damn puppies. Not a single damn one. 623. Thank you, cutie. I appreciate you telling me that. And this should be enough wood to start for. Let's do a little bit of, just in case we're gonna pop with these. Get this, da da da. Doof, 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 doof. And pop that across. And we'll do a nice little X. I think will help out fine too. There you go. Thank you for the link. You'll howl with laughter if a wolf shows up. So mean to me. This chat is amazing, aren't they, Jupiter? Look, I don't know how that puppy ear showed up. They just kind of showed up one day and I can't get rid of them. I think somebody super glued them to my head, but they just won't leave. Please fall asleep. Hi, God. Lovely to see you. Savvy, I knew what you meant. I know we're not in the same time zone. That's fair, Vanya. You don't have to. Moonflower. Moonflower? Did you call them Moonflower? Vanya, I would like you to sleep sometimes, but not all the time. I'm glad you wanted to come by. Oh, I don't want to be. I won't. If it's a personal nickname, I won't use it. It is a cute nickname, but I'll leave it at that. I do care for your health, and you sure do worry me a lot. Oh shoot, there's a hydrate, and there's a. I'm such a good doggo. Alright, Moonflower. Nap time requested that 6 minutes ago. And the hydrate was Goth Siren. Hello, sweetie. A few minutes ago as well. Chat's more important than the redeems. You all should know that. Look, chat, if I was really quick and actionable on the redeems, y'all would expect me to respond more. Oh, not this again. Okay, so this is where we're going to be. I know this voice isn't as cute or attractive, but I don't understand why people enjoy this one here. But you enjoy this. This is something you enjoy. Leo's voice kind of hits. Anyways, I'm gonna go wash up my makeups. Good, I'm very proud of you for washing up your makeups. Do not leave it on your face. It will cause you to, it will make you break out. Okay? Take care of your skin and it will take care of you. And that goes for everybody here, chat. I don't care who you are, but you must take care of yourselves. No, the praise redeem has been removed for now. There was a few issues with some very parasocial behavior, and it was, varying. So I do rinse, repeat, and hang my skin. No. Okay, so you're going to take first a cleanser for your face. You rub it into your face, a nice little cleanser, and then wash off the cleanser. Perhaps leave the cleanser on your face for about a minute. Then would come your serums, or whatever you have. If you have for something for dry skin or something to balance the pH of your skin, that's very good. And then, lastly, you should be using something like a lotion every night and every morning at least. And on top of that, you will be adding a sunscreen in the morning. Okay? Every day, a sunscreen. I don't care how sunny it is, your skin needs it. Hello, Hyper Ace. How are you doing? I think I'm going to eat some of the surround meat because we're running out of time. Hey, Adi, sweetie. How long do I have until the time is out? Do I have much more time left? I have not found a lot of resources and I'm a little worried. Okay. Thank you. See, Dazzy understands. It has been requested. This is a Leo accent, Astral Rose. Little Nova. Hello, Zenova. Do not eat me. I'm not much of good taste. Yes, sunscreen even in autumn. It does not matter if the sun is high. What matters is the UV damage to your skin. Exactly. Good morning, Crow. Oh, I believe it's morning for you. There are going to still be some UVs that get through. Even with the clouds, sunscreen is good for you. I can tell you're very hyper, little crow. Would you like to be less hyper? It is okay. It is the natural cycle of the mods. Sometimes the mods just need to consume each other. And then we bring in new mods. It's okay, Aura. This is the cycle of nature. Here we can see the smaller, weaker mod being eaten by the larger, more scary one. The larger mod, having put on more weight, will soon split into two new mods through a process known as mitosis. They reproduce asexually. And the UV radiation, this is what damages the skin. Addie, how much more time do I have? Do I have a little more time, or am I out of time? That does not seem right. 6 minutes, really? I guess not much time has passed. The accents? Because it is a redeem. There is a redeem called Leo. It has been requested. And so here it is. Mitosis, exactly. At least you're making the sweet, yeah. Yes. And now we're done. I feel good to drop it. It's weird in my tongue. I need your stuff more than you do. And that makes it okay for me to rob you. Trust. Oh, hell yeah. Alright, and now it's southern. Honestly, I should have seen this coming. It ain't never stay in one direction for long, does it? Y'all always want the next one. It's totally fine. Everybody's got their own stuff going on. And now I'll never hold it against you for not being here. Never hold it against you for long. No more talking normal, apparently. Apparently there ain't no more talking normal. Yeah, chat just don't like my normal voice is what it is. I get it, chat. You just hate my normal voice. This is a high-key soothing. Yeah, chat hates my normal voice. Jupiter, sweetie. Honey, darling. You got a little bit of that southern twang in you. I've noticed. Uni does not like me, does it? No. Though. Fam, what was that little nickname you were called before? Mind running it by me again? Oh, that easy. I thought you put up more than Moonflower. Come here, little moonflower. Do you mind if I pick you from your stem? Cat. Oh, you got no fish. Oh no, Joe, we ain't got nothing. That fish. I wonder if I can get to that cat fast enough, but I doubt it. How much time I got left, Addy? 1 minute, 30 seconds. Oh, we ain't got the time. We ain't not got that time. Die, stupid little thing. Thank you. Oh. I really appreciate it, by the way, Addy. I hope you know that. I hope you know that. You helped me out so much right now. Come on, come on, come on. Oh, little moonflower. What you giggling for? And hello there, Editor Cole. Lovely, lovely, lovely viewers. I would like y'all to go check out the Editor Cole. They're very, very cool. They make lovely, 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 lovely content themselves. And they edited my most recent clips. Come on. Come on, kitty cat. Come on back. Come here. Come here. Come here. Come on. Come, stupid. Come here, cat. It won't. It won't. It won't. Come here. Come here. Come here. Yes, we got it. Come on, kitty. Get down the hole. Kitty cat? Kitty. Kitty, you're supposed to... Kitty? Please, sweetie. The cat won't come. Well. Now it's time. You're goofy, you know that. You're so goofy. We got 1 more minute left in this. Well, sorry, chat. Go check out Editor Cole. Can we give them a little shout out? I'm not sure if we did that yet. They've edited some content for me, and they've done an amazing, amazing job. And they're very, very cool. Are they still barking? Vonnie, would you mind doing the shout out for me, sweetie? All right, fine. I will do it. Oh, okay. I'm glad you did it already. I ain't sure what to do with this. They just keep going. Hello, Silver Miss Nova. How you doing? Thank you for the follow. They want me to say sweetie. And why would you want me to say sweetie? No. Wait a second. Do y'all know each other? Man, y'all all know each other. That's crazy. I've been taking up your FYP. What do you mean I've been taking over your FYP? Where you been seeing me? Thank you for the luck, Moonlight. Which FYP? Really? Oh, look, it's finally working. Well, I'm super glad you got to see some of my TikToks. Been trying to upload them every single day. Hey, it's a kitty. Hi, kitty. My efforts are paying off. I'm getting there. As on the one side, I'm like, you know what? This is insane. I can't believe Aura and Vanya are going on for this long. But then on the other side, I'm like, I kind of want to see how long they're going to keep going. You know what I'm saying? They just don't stop. Oh right, sorry. I do YouTube as well now, and I am gonna try to do some long form videos. Apparently, that you're supposed to do those as a content creator, and I just haven't. I don't have any long form yet. Give me some time. They'll come up. But yes, I have an Instagram. I have a Twitters. I have. All right, fine. You'll be good. It doesn't stop. Yeah, I thought they'd get bored at some point. All right, Vanya or sweetie, would you mind stopping for a little bit? I would really appreciate it. Thank you, honeys. Why am I still doing Southern Voice? That ended a while ago. I know Vanya was. I had a feeling Vanya was. Vanya does like I do. I like when we make fun of the frog. Thank you, I appreciate that. Big Mac is the worst. I know you do. But they are the absolute worst. A horrible monstrosity of a burger. Jupiter. Reconsider. Make a better choice. Can you do that? Just don't disappoint me. All right, let's please not replace the spam with one thing to another thing. If y'all need to go get some sleep, y'all please get some sleep. Okay, and you know what? Maybe the EU Big Mac might be acceptable. I doubt it. I very much doubt it. But no, enjoy your naps. What are you doing? What horrible choices are you all making? Are these relationship choices? No. Little silver mist, go do your work. I don't hate you. His name is Roberto. Interesting choice. Roberto. What do you mean? Thank you for the follow, Jade Rocker. How you doing today? And welcome to the menagerie. Mm-hmm. Are you ready for this awesome spell? Am I gonna be disappointed in you? How am I? I'm doing pretty good. Genuinely. Go for it, Vonian. I am not disappointed in you. Jade Rocker, I really enjoy your name. I hope you enjoy your time here today. And if there's anything I can do to make you more comfortable. Not allowed, Vanya, sorry. No. But yeah, Chad, of course I have to roll my R's. The first German I learned was Bavarian German. I hope you have a good stream, huh? Okay, Nova, you've been good. And so when I first learned German, I learned how to roll my R's. Because we say warum, warum. Aber ich habe viel auf mein Deutsch vergessen. Und so jetzt habe ich diese typische deutsches Sprache. Ja, ich weiß nicht. Have fun, Silver Mist. Enjoy grading. No, I could always roll my R's, but it came because of the language that I first learned. I think people's ability to roll R's is not based on their tongue, but based on the languages they learned first. Some people just pick it up easier than others. You can't roll your R's around people. You can only do it when there's no one there. Chat, my girlfriend is totally real. She lives in Canada, and she goes to a school y'all have never heard of, but she's real. Just like Aura's R's. I'm kidding. Mm-hmm. You got people barking. Can't confirm exactly. King Dazzy is actually secretly my girlfriend, Shandom. I didn't know how to tell you this. I'm just kidding, I'm kidding. Imagine, chat. Imagine that's how I announce it. No. Dating just takes so much effort. I don't think I even have the time for it. Because I've gotten obsessive in the past, you know? And I don't want to spend my time being obsessed. I just don't have the time for it right now. I was, but then I got tired. Oh, Eddie, you're so right. I'm sorry. What am I doing? Give me a second. yeah, no, definitely. Share me with your friends. I'm always happy to be shared. Don't take that out of context. What are we doing? Oh, hey, Iron. I've been looking for you, sweetie. Where have you been? Yes, Mama. I was only joking. Oh, so you didn't actually care what I said. Wow, that's brave of you. What if I'd gone, no, if there's a single person. Cat, if I close the hole, will you come with me? I'm afraid you're going to be stuck here forever, but I trust you to teleport, okay? And just in case, here's a torch. I will come back for you. Okay. That's about time with the amount of times that the mods, not going to say the word, so else they're going to start doing it again. Did you come with me? Or, oh, thank God. You know what I'm not going to say, or I'm not going to say it. No, you can't make me. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Even though the sound of it is something quite atrocious. If you say it loud enough, you'll always be precocious. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Oh, hi, Andromeda. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. I'm delighted. Going operated boy, sitting on a shelf. He is but a toy, then I turn him on, and he comes to life, automatic joy. That is why I want a coin-operated boy. Made of plastic and elastic. He is rugged and long-lasting. Who could ever ask for more? Love without complications galore. Right. Get your eeps, it's what I am for you. Why are you staying awake? You're a degenerate. Sounds about right. Honestly, Jupiter, sounds about right. Should I sleep in the restaurant I'm in? You might as well. Sleep well, Moreau. Have pleasant dreams. No. I don't mind a little degeneracy. As long as I get a benefit out of it. Like viewers. What's degeneracy? Do you want me to spell it out for you? Pomo, lovely. Perché? put your head on the pillow. Close your eyes. And let sleep take you. And just for Palma, we're going to try something real quick. You ready? I'm going to count to a random number steadily while we dig. You ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36. Good evening, and also thank you for letting me know how bad Big Macs are. Of course, Lost Soul VT. How you doing? They are just absolutely awful. We're doing a little chill ASMR stream right now, though. But I do hope you enjoy your time here. So tell me, where did you see my video on the Big Macs? Or Lost? Okay. Alright, Soul. Good name. TikTok. TikTok has been doing well. Good to know. TikTok, 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 TikTok. What do you mean, jasmine flowers? Thank you for following. I hope you enjoy your time here, and I promise not all my streams are this relaxing and calm. I do like the smell of jasmine. We get a lot more chaotic most of the time. Well, this is very quickly. Hello, Strawberry. How you doing? And hello, it's Ulrika. Or how do I say your name? President Barry. A president? Didn't know we had political figures here. And what are you president of? The whole friend group. Well, it's lovely to meet all of you. Oh, thank you for the hydrate. I appreciate it. Oh, Moonlight, I'm such a good doggy. Just as requested. Thank you for the lurk, dwarf. What do you mean lost? You seem confused. Is your brain okay? I see it buffering. Hello, music lover. Though I always see Clover in your name, and I just want to call you Clover. Would you miss here? The Strawberry Dragon Maid elected president by your friends. Ooh. Oh, that's fun. Oh, and thank you for the stretch. Let me just... That hurt. Why does nobody elect me as president, chat? That's no fair. None of my friends ever elect me as president. Yeah, but I could be president villain. Come on. I'd like to be villain president. Like an old... Oh, hello, sweetie. Excuse me. What are you doing here? Would you like to not try to murder me, thank you? There we go. Oh, for those of you who don't know, I'm coming out as a villain. I'm coming out as a villain, chat. Oh, it's because of all these dumb skeletons. Yeah, I give up. A new world. Too many skeletons. We gotta get a dog in our first 15 minutes, but I don't think that's possible. I'm gonna name this one Dog. We're going to take over an island, it's true. Oh, yeah, look, a jungle. There is Boba. Wow, you know, I didn't realize Chad had been keeping track of my evil plans so well. But y'all are doing a fantastic job of advertising. Chibi pose, are you doing art? Oh, that sounds cute. Oh, I love art. What kind of art are you doing? I mean, I assume chibi. No, you got this. I believe in you. Alright, chat, this time we might find bamboo. And if we find bamboo, this world is saved. Just let me know if you see it, okay? Just go, Gene, bamboo. Okay. What do you just... Why do I have a feeling that something else is happening? Thank you. Don't worry about it. No, I'm worried. Am I going to be hunted for sport? How's my day been? Oh, my day's been exhausting. And I have eaten, though. No Big Macs. Do you know what I got, chat? Do you know what I got for Here, pay attention. So, do you know what I got for my dinner today? I got a Five Guys burger because they're on sale, buy one, get one. And so now I have a burger for breakfast tomorrow and a burger for dinner. They are very good. Oh, we got such cool resources this time. Look at this. Okay, so hear me out. The clicker was not so I could make you all pay attention, but it works. And so, you know, you can't be upset at me. Oh, thank you so much, Hetty. I was gonna ask. Now, the reason I got the clicker was for doing audio recording. I was gifted a VGen code. Oh yeah? Is that true, little strawberry? You think my voice is that special? I mean, I can make this voice sound like all sorts of things. It depends on what you're looking for. Psst, 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 psst. No, we're doing ASMR. I cannot do that right now. Unfortunately, my demo is much too busy for something like this right now. Ah, Desi. It's alright. Desi, sweetie. This is what you've requested. Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. Yes. Chat, have you heard of the classic? So, there are two ways to say it. Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. Or, I'm sorry, Daddy, I've been naughty. Same thing. Exactly the same thing. But one of them you can't say in church for some reason. I've never understood that. Hello, Silas. Well, you know what happens. You show up and then everything starts getting naughty again. Because my face is burning. Oh. Take care of yourself. Make sure you don't burn up too easily. Your health is very important. I have all these channel points. I don't know what to do with this anymore. That's fair. That's very fair, Desi. I know. I did miss Silas as well. Silas is a lot of fun to have here. Eddie, sweetie, how are you doing on the time? Hello, Zach. How you doing? I hope you enjoy the accent while I still do it. I feel like every time somebody comes in, I have to tell them, yes, I'm just doing a fake accent right now. Because I don't want people to be like, I expect this accent all the time. How's the fuck off 3 months from December? Well, I don't know how to tell you this, but that is the way the seasons work. In the months, you see there's first there's January, and then there's February. And then there's March, April, May, June, July, August, September. Then there's October. Thank you so much for the follow. Why am I green? Because we are in the green. Ah, yes, I'm feeling a little queasy. But I appreciate those two who followed. And I'm sorry that your name seems a bit difficult for me to say right now. Zagnetza und Elrica. How are you doing? I hope I got even close to your name, because if I didn't, then I would feel a little guilty. Asa Boat. Hello there, Boat. He might be hulking out. Elrica. Oh, I'm glad. I would hate to have a new friend whose name I can't say right. Oh, wait a second, I still have another minute here. Why are you thinking? Simping, very different. Okay, that makes more sense. It would help if I could read sometimes. No, the L is very apparent. It sticks out more than anything else. How could you miss that? Without the L, it's pretty much not half of the name. Oh no, that is what I'm talking about. Look how pleasant that is. Oh, that is much better. That is what I needed. So I have some sound and very good there. And now, what are these things? Or are you talking about the nuggets? I can tell you about the nuggets. You just have to give me a little time, but I still have some exploring to do. Okay. Desi, sweetie, you have a lot of fun, okay? All right, Shan, I'm gonna. I don't know if I can get the energy to this. Hey there, Russell. I can't really do it because I'm too chilled out right now. But when I'm doing more of my chaotic streams, I am a lot more excited and energetic, and my voice is a bit different. But I promise that vibe is here as well. I like doing both the energy and the ASMR. So promise me you'll give me another chance tomorrow. Same time, same place? Though apparently ASMR at this hour is a lot more popular than I thought it was. No, that's fair. You see, Soul, the problem is not you, it's crazy, it's me. I'm the crazy one. I stream every day. Crazy. I was crazy once. They put me in a room. A rubber room with rats. The rats made me crazy. I was crazy once. They put me in a room. A rubber room with rats. The rats, they made me crazy. I was crazy once. They put me in a room. A rubber room. A room with rats. The rats made me crazy. I was crazy once. They put me in a room. Rubber room with rats. The rats, though, they made me crazy. Crazy, though. I was crazy once. They put me in a room. A rubber room with rats. The rats made me crazy. Anyways, yes, I stream twice a day, every day. Starting at 3:30 a.m. MST. And then I do another stream. That's about a 2-hour stream before work. That is an ASMR stream. Then in the evening, I stream from 4 to 6, going a little bit longer sometimes, which is more of an energetic stream. Just today I was lacking energy, so I decided to make it a little bit chill. The only exception for the afternoon streams and the morning streams, on Saturday and Sunday, I stream at 6 instead of 3. And on Friday evenings, I have singing lessons. So I cannot stream in the evening as late. So I stream a little bit right after I get off work for 2 to 3 hours. And then I go to singing lessons. I'll be doing some song covers very soon. The first being The Phantom of the Opera. And then I will be doing Thunderbringer. After Thunderbringer, I plan on doing Oogie Boogie Song for Halloween, as well as some 9 Inch Nails. I'll be doing Only. Hamilton, not yet, but it would be on the list. I've decided to go down early. But thank you, Addie. There will be some Sweeney Todd at some point as well. Wait, why did I make... Oh no. Oh no. But there's no place like London. I made a crafting table because I couldn't find my crafting table, because I placed my crafting table. That's what I did. No. Does that mean it's time to count again? Chad, do you think it's time we start counting again? What do you think? Thank you for the gifted subs. Silas, sweetie, you didn't have to do that. Your presence is gift enough, but I do really appreciate it. Chat, what do you think? Do you think it's time to count again? Oh. Have a blessed time zone. Okay, let's do it. Do we count up or do we count down? Your choice. Sleep well, Midnight Rose. May you stay ever in bloom. Down. And what number do we start with? Under 100, please. 40. Solid. 40. 39. 38. 37. 36. 35. 34. 33. 32. 31. 30. 29. 28. 27. 26. 25. 24. 23. 22. 21. 20. 19. 18. 17. 16. 15. 14. 13. 12. 11. 10. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thank you. That's fair. Not everyone has the same reaction. I'm sorry, I didn't want to mentally break you. That was never my intent. Oh, good job, Savvy. How's Palmo doing? The goal is mostly to put to sleep people who should already be asleep. You survive, but at what cost? Alright, so, the plan. You're living soft boy. You are a living soft boy. Good. If Palmo's asleep, mission accomplished. You're the one who said it, Silas. Foodie, sweetie. Thank you for the stretch. Thank you for the hydrate. Oh, you're living for soft boy. I appreciate it. I can dig that one, Silas. You're allowed to call me soft. You're plenty hard for the both of us, Especially with that pretty art you got made for me. I really do appreciate that. I mean, absolutely gorgeous. It's funny though. Do you know what's even funnier? Silas, you probably got the last art he's making. Because he said he's, graduating. That's wild. Something so poetic about that. The last piece an artist makes. I hope I wasn't the reason he lost his passion. Well. That would be awful. Imagine. Now he saw me as like, ayo, here's this fuck ass goblin. Speaking of, I need to make another TikTok for tonight, for tomorrow. Hey, Soul, you still here? Any kind of TikTok you're interested in? As a person who has seen them. Really? Oh, that's interesting. I do wish him the best. It's unfortunate he lost his passions. But I get it. You do something like this long enough and it gets hard to keep going. especially when you see others doing differently. Thank you for the redeem. I go by he, they. But he, him is fine as well. Chat, what pronouns do you use? I'm very curious. Have fun driving. She, they. Very solid. Good choice. Good choice. She, her, he, him, some classics. Whatever you think I am, that's what I am. I think you're a little dwarf. A darling little dwarf. She, her, oh, hi. She, they, and goddess. Ick. Moonflower. Oh, don't go telling on Moonflower. Let them have their little fun. Where's the harm in that? She, her, always a solid choice. Blood Moon. Oh, it's so interesting to see all y'all come out the woodworks. Y'all have been lurking. Really? Silas, sweetie, if it's not too much to ask, would you like to, talk with me about it? Potentially off stream. I'm curious. I appreciate it. Of course. So. I might reach out. Just to talk to them a little bit. Though you know I never want to be a bother. Oh, well, I have chosen. I may have chosen the worst place to build a little home. But it's doable, I suppose. Need to find a good place to get some water. One thing I never think about. Grabbing the water when I need it. By the way, drink some water, chat. You need to stay hydrated. It's very important. Okay, we're gonna do this. Grab this, swap that over there, and... What'd you hear? Me drinking. Was what intentional? I'm doing lovely. How you doing, Moon? You made it into a LuckyJene clip. I'm feeling really relaxed, and honestly, I'm enjoying this so very much today. This is what my brain needed. And I appreciate you all for putting up with my offbeatness today. And I guess it is my stream, so it's not like I should be surprised y'all put up with it. But y'all could complain. Hmm. The Gene Production Squad. A cuddle pile. Are you doing both? Well, I do have a large bed and nobody to fill it. So I suppose I can sponsor it. I don't know, Silas. Maybe I do. Protect me physically and emotionally. Mm-hmm. Oh, wouldn't that be fun? I kind of like how this space hollowed out. I might just see if I can fill it with plants, dirt, and water, and... No, I would never sacrifice any of you, even for a cult. What's the point of a dead follower? You can't do anything from beyond the grave. Slime Rancher actually looks kind of interesting. Later out. Sleep well. Oh, Erica. When you're done, would you mind showing me the art? I'd love to see it. I'm gonna love Elle's art. I know if they made it, I'm sure I will. Art made with passion is always the best. You can send me any sort of request and we can figure out exactly how to make it what you're wanting it to be. Don't worry about any misunderstandings, Silas. I trust you. I know your intent would never be bad. Oh, oh that's... It was the damn water this time, chat. Of course, of course. I feel like we can go a little bit longer. Maybe just a little bit longer. And if anyone needs to go to sleep, and they've just been hanging out to make it to the end of my stream, it's totally fine. Laughter. Madness. Two sides of the same coin. Alright, here we are. Are you asleep tomorrow? No, carne mia. Carne mia, carne mia, carne mia. You need to be sleeping, girlie. Honey bunch. Sleep is so very, very important. 6. So we have 15 minutes, chat. Oh, I warm your cold little heart. I'm glad y'all enjoy it so much. You know, growing up, I was always told to try to hold back my laughs, suppress them a little bit. But then I read stories, lovely little stories, where they always talk about the man with his deep, bellowing laugh, and how his laugh makes everybody else smile. And I always thought that I want to laugh like that. You know, be a little bit more genuine with them. Enjoy your naps now. And so the fact that y'all enjoy my laugh so very, very much means a lot to me. Genuinely. Now where we at? Oh no. I got stuck. I don't want to be stuck. uh, yeah, I'm leaning back in the chair. Why am I almost blushing? Why is it... Chat, why you almost got me blushing just talking about my laugh like that? Oh. Why y'all reading so deeply into my laughs? I didn't know I had that much variation to them. Well, thank you. Yeah. Mm. Oh, y'all gonna make me tear up there. Mm. I might be full loss for words, chat. Give me 1 second while I compose myself. Watch, you seems to always have a smile. I'm just staring at my screen, smiling affectionately. I'm glad to hear that. Y'all really make me enjoy streaming. I hope you know that. Y'all really make me enjoy what I do. Palmo, you're supposed to be asleep. What are you doing back here? Get your ass back to bed. Now, you see, the problem is, chat, it ain't flirting that gets me. It's genuine emotion. And genuine kindness like this. That gets me every time. Sir, I'm taking your fletching table. I'm taking your job, by the way. Thank you, kindly. Silas, down boy. Silas, be a good boy. Sit. I do not hate you. I'm full of what? What am I full of? Hi, Calypsy. I'm having a good night. Chad, did you know Calypsy said they're a fan of me? I thought that was the sweetest thing. Oh, do y'all know each other? What are the chances? Oh, that was not my tongue. I have a dog clicker just for y'all now. That's the tongue. But that I use for horses, and chat, I'm sure as hell you ain't no horses. Hans goes. Oh, Palmo. Darling. Bella. Come vai? Perché non stanco? So what it is you suck air in through your tongue, through your cheek, under your tongue. That's how you do it. Un poco. Italiano no bene. Perché? Ich kann Deutsch viel besser machen, aber mein Deutsch ist auch nicht so gut. Yeah, lost. It might have been a little wink. Okay. Well, Palmer, you know where to find me if you need me, right? Oh. Italian ain't hard to understand. Italian one of them easy ones. 7 minutes, thanks. Thank you, Jimmits. Thank you so much. I was taking a look. I appreciate it. Si, signor. I know you've said that in a perfect Italian. Oh, I like all kinds of food. I mean, chat, we've been through this before, but like I enjoy trying native foods of people. Foods that people haven't been able to share with others. Those are my favorites. Now, I'll eat just about anything. But I mean, classically, my favorite line is, my favorite food is anything that's free. And my second favorite food is anything that's cheap. But I like all kinds. Every food has its place. Fellow Filipino. My tongue vibrates. I forgot about that one. Your tongue do be vibrating, don't it? One fun morning. Thank you, Jimmins. I read a book once where a character was having a mix of a deep Indian voice, high-pitched Irish accent when he was... Oh, that sounds lovely. Na 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 na. You want to teach me something? Y'all can teach me whatever you like. I love learning a new language. Beata Maria, you know I am much purer than all the other civilizations crowned. So tell me, Maria, why I see her standing there. Middle Earth, Calypsy, there ain't no way you know Middle Earth Elvish. There ain't no way you know Elvish. Say sack right now. You did? That's actually kind of incredible. That's really cute, actually. I'm Valerian. God, y'all are so silly. I hope you know that. I should learn Klingon so I can live up to my middle name. Oh, of course it was. Dovahkiin. Alright, 2 minutes. And then the challenge begins once again. Oh, I'm out of coffee, chat. Can one of you lovely darlings please stop by the kitchen for me and grab me another cup of coffee? Lou Drift Rally. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hope you enjoy your time here. How you doing? Yeah, same. Because I like the taste of coffee. The coffee isn't in my bathtub. It's on the couch. The coffee. Don't. Hey, don't judge me for where I put my coffee. Just because my coffee's on the couch, don't. Well, nobody bought me a table yet, chat, so where else am I supposed to put it? Oh, well, no, there's a... Hi, Lover, how you doing? There's a, I'm an idiot. I did it again. Why do I keep doing this? Can I please declare something? You may. Please declare something. I'm doing very well. Am I supposed to put my penis in the coffee? Is that what we're talking about? Oh, I'm glad you love your mom. What'd your mom do? You said body part. And we're heading down. Thank you. What do you mean, bad gene? You said I'm wondering when you're going to put a body part in it. And when you say body part, the only thing... Oh, like foot cake. I mean, of course I've stuck my finger in coffee. How else are you going to stir it? Oh. Well, this is a problem. Let's see if I can alleviate this problem real quick. This is a problem. It is a problem, and I will die, I will die, I will die, die, die. I have fixed it, I fixed the problem. It was almost very bad. But now I have no fucking wound. And so I'm fucked, I am fucked, I am fucked, fucked, fucked. Oh, that was very sweet. Well, I suppose I live here now. Oh, shit. Okay, so here's the situation. Here's the situation. I need wood. I have no wood. So, the only choice I really have is to go down and hope, beyond all hope, that I can find wood somehow down here. Now, there are a few options. Number one, we find iron. If we find iron, we're good. Because then I can maybe find lava. I can't go to the surface. And if I were to take the tree away... Not yet. If I take the tree away, I'd be in the surface. And we have no wood. Nor nothing I can make into one. We do have a little bit of armor, so that's interesting. Oh, why he's staying far away? No, that's cheating. And I don't cheat. But I do find iron absolutely randomly. Oh, there it is. There's the pretty little iron. What a beautiful little thing you are. Are you waiting for me, darling? Of course you are. Did I have to purr like that? I don't know what you're talking about. Carmia. Hello, little kitten. How you doing, wild kitten? Good to see you. What are you saying you for? What did I do? Can I? Okay, that doesn't work. Little? No, never. Me? No. I would never call you little anything. That's... Oh, I love that. I absolutely love that. I'm glad you're able to share that with her. Okay. We're gonna grab this. We're gonna grab this. Snatch them both. And now, our little pommel. Little pommel, little red tomato. Lava, come on. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hey, look, a cave chat. What are the chances? better chance. Slightly more chance of surviving. Hey, you don't gotta be rude to me. What did I do to get such rudeness? Explain that one to me. No. Carmia. 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 What have I done? Could you move your home here? I already have all the stuff I need for my home. So I might. But I think I need just enough armor or some enough, so I need... Ooh, this is gonna be tight. Here's the plan. Cara mia. Mi amore. Again, I'm doing... Well, I'm mentally fried right now, to be honest. I don't want to say I'm just doing good, but... Overall, though, I'm doing better. Doing better. Of course. Fried Gene is cute. He's functioning in safe mode. No, you made me blush is what you did. What do you mean? You probably could, but I wouldn't be very tasty right now. I'm a little salty from being a bit sweaty. This is on low power mode. The brain is just only halfway there. Okay. And you never make Jet blush ever. Should I fix that? Silas. What the hell was this? Eclipsy, thank you. Thank you. You didn't have to do that, I appreciate it. And since I was told I'd never make you blush. Pretty little chat. Lovely little darlings. I'm sorry I haven't been giving you the attention you deserve. Let me see if I can correct that right now. So what is it? What can little old me do to you? I'm sorry. For you. There's no implications, Silas. Darling. Don't you never forget. There you go. As requested, Jimmins. Bunny. Oh, thank you. God, hi. Thank you. You didn't... Thank you for the gifts. I really appreciate them. You did not have to... Thank you. Thank you. And I hope all of you enjoy your gifted subs. Alright. Today's been a nice day. Oh, so Lost Soul, if you're still here, I was gonna ask, as a person who came from the TikTok, what kind of content are you wanting to see more on TikTok? If you have any insight or opinion. Hello, welcome back. No, where isn't? Book talk girlies. No, no, no. I need to think for the grander scheme of things. I'll do ASMR and stuff, but that'll be on its own separate thing. Thank you for the follow, Strawberry Milk. Oh, yeah, no, just message me. Just message me directly, Amdis. You're allowed to DM me with that. I'll do anything for $20. I wouldn't say anything. Quite a lot, though. Even more for 100. Thank you for the follow. I hope you enjoy your time here. $30. 9. 9. 18. 27. I think it's a great idea. I'm doing math. Not the most organized. You're right. I'm sorry, Moonflower. I'm not the most organized. If you're needing help with that, I could at least, be there for moral support, maybe. Ten, 20. I'm glad I've made your day. I'm very glad I've made your day. I can definitely be nice sometimes. Interesting. Swear I heard some noise. Come on. Please be enough. I think I might be one piece off. Come on. Hello there, Night Blossom. How are you doing? We're streaming a little bit long today. Thank you all for the hype train, genuinely. Alright, it's time to test a theory, chat. Yes. Oh, yes. I have been saved. I have been. What are you sorry for, Silence? Oh, the noise. I have been saved. Oh, that was so close. That could have been awful. Genuinely awful. Wait. 1 second. 1 second. Your dog did what? How did your dog manage to poop all over the front? I'm so sorry that happened. I wish you nothing but the best. That sounds awful. Are you okay, darling? Well, I mean, can you blame me? Oh, that's a lot of cleaning. It is. Okay. Welcome back, Savvy. Oh, come on, guys. It's a good thing that I've been going for so long. Na 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 na. Oh, that's what I needed too. What is the chances? And all of this luck just going my way. I mean, to be fair, he was trying to get out, probably. I understand the dog's logic, you know. We need to poop on the way out. Discord does work. Are you having issues with the Discord? Is the Discord not showing up for you? Oh, wait, you already joined the Discord. I've forgotten all about that. My bad. I suppose you're allowed to make friends with other people. Wait, no, I'm supposed to be selfish. Hey, stop being friends with each other. Be friends with me. I need the attention. Good. Choo choo. Palma's like a genie. Okay. Now I have a thought. Why am I lightheaded? If I drink enough water. Okay. I think there's something funky I can do here, Chad, but I don't know how to do it. Okay, stretch, big stretch. Interesting, Chad. I'm gonna try something. I don't know if this is gonna work, but we're gonna try it, okay? So we're gonna do this is powdered snowball. How do I make powdered snow? Okay, this might work. We're gonna try this. Snow, maybe. No. Didn't work. Damn. What if I do this? Is this powdered snow? No. What if I do something with this? Can I make this into anything? There's gotta be a way to do something with this. I know there has to be. Because I have snow. Can't I make it into water somehow? That's just snow carpet. That doesn't do anything. I don't know. You think that's only ice? Ugh, it's too bad, it's too bad. Oh, hey, look, a cave. I was looking for one of these. What luck. So here's my predicament, lovelies. Since I have no one, I can't make any more pickaxes. Which means I can only mine to a certain level. And I can only repair the pickaxe when I get experience. So, all I can do right now is figure out a way to get enough experience to keep repairing the pickaxe I have. Thank you for the lurk. I hope you enjoy the arts. But I think in the next 3 minutes, it may be time to bring stream to an end. Maybe we'll do 7. We'll make it a solid 3 hours. How does that sound to all of you? Nice. And then I'll go take a nice little shower. Maybe finally do some of my laundries. I do still need to wash my sheets. Unless somebody wants to wash them for me. And then we'll work on some content. Whatever. I will do a little laundry, don't you worry. Google, stop whoring me out. Silas, you can't blame Google for that. I've seen you even without Google. Mm-hmm. Silas. Yeah, if anyone's gonna whore Silas out, it's gonna be Silas. Not this again. And we escape. Just in the nick of time. Silly. Absolutely silly. But we know that about you, don't we? Oh, 5 enchantment. Come on. Give me what I need. Just a little bit more. Just a little more. Come on. Oh, it's taking so long. Just give it. Not enough. At least I can finally make a bucket. A bucket. Dear God, there's more. No. We have a bucket. The fucking bucket. Yes, Alice. What's up? There we go. And repaired. Nice. No. Oh, you're right. It's time. Well, we have 3 more minutes to finish off the stream. Because we want to get a solid 3 hours in, so we have 3 minutes left. Because I started stream 3 minutes late, chat. Don't tell anybody. Don't let anybody know that I've been starting my streams a little bit late. You can't blame me for that. It's not my fault I was late, chat. Ungene arrives exactly what he means to. But is that the light that's putting off? That's not what I meant to do. I'm fashionable. I learn something new every day, huh? Thank you for the follow, Yami. Yami Matasuru. How you doing, Yami? Lovely to see you. Lovely indeed. I echo. The fuck-ass goblin. Me, never. I've never been a fuck-ass goblin once in my life. Bernardino Echo. I should go down there. You think you know Echo? Fun. Alright, lovelies. Let's take a look at the time. We have a few more seconds. There are many echoes. So many echoes. But each one of them are wonderful. Beefquake. Beefquake? What is beefquake? Do you wanna explain that one to me? Oh. Hi, Ami. Lovely to meet you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I hope you enjoy your time here. No. That beef be quaking, Chad. That beef be quaking. Yo. Call me a steak the way I be quaking that beef. I will do laundry, don't you worry. Oh no, don't tell me I'm immediately lost. Oh no. Damn. Beef leaf. Rump roast. Where, oh, where, oh, where, oh, where did it go? Where did it go? Where did it go? How have I lost you so readily and so easily? No, I know, but I must find my way back home. And it's these tight little passages every time. They're so easy. I have no wood to make posters, or I would. No, that wasn't the other one. The cat's gone forever because I died. Unfortunately. Was it this way? Another place that isn't right. And I keep seeing light, but it's not the light that I'm looking for. Yeah. Thought me a cat expert. There's a loon joke in there somewhere that I'm not going to make. You have to make it yourself if you want to hear it. Oh, and here we run and run and run, because there's no wood to be had. just think you say weird things sometimes. Well, this is where we're going to meet our end, chat. And it's time for me to find something to raid into. But I hope you all had a lovely, lovely time today. I had a good time, me personally. So let's take a little time real quick to reacquaint ourselves. Here, let me get to the right screen for this. Hello. I had a lovely time today with everyone here. And I really do appreciate you all, taking the time with me to be a bit relaxed and chill, and I know the expectation is a lot more energy at this time, and I am sorry that I couldn't provide it now. But it was fun. And honestly, I feel a lot better mentally right now than I did earlier. Good. And I promise, for those of you who are expecting more energy today, you'll have more of that tomorrow. Silly car outside revving its engine one side. So, yes, tomorrow. Tomorrow's Friday. What's on the docket for tomorrow, chat? Let me take a little look-see. I'm gonna scroll down. Schedule. I have Persona 4. Persona 4, that's right. We're gonna be doing Persona 4. I never played it before, but our dear lovely Modvania loves the game so much. So, it's gonna be fun. And Saturday, we're doing the Hear Me Out cake. I don't know if the entries are closed yet, but there should still be a chance to submit some entries if you want to submit your Hear Me Outs. There'll be 3 cakes. The cake of shame, which will be for people who submit Hear Me Outs that aren't Hear Me Outs. There'll be the cake of what the fuck for those really, really crazy submissions. And there will be the Hear Me Out cake that I agree with. So here's the link to the Hear Me Out cake. You ready? Ploop. Ploop. And now, I know somebody submitted just a car. That's just a normal car. That's all I'm gonna say. I already know it's gonna be crazy. Do y'all like my room, by the way? My lovely little room. I'm in here. We'll swap to the camera real quick. Can I zoom out a little bit? Where's the camera again? There it is. And we can look. Oh, my ears are gone. Let me zoom out of my body. There. What do you think? I thought it's fun. Oh, no tail yet. We might have a tail one day. but not today. Okay, now that we've had a little time to relax and come back down. That was the bed I had you trapped under, it's true. Yeah, of course you can boot my nose. Oh, and have I shown you all the color changes? See, we can do this one. This one, I like this one a lot. A little bit warmer. And this one kind of gives a spooky vibe. If I want to get really spooky, now I can tell you horror stories. Little stories. Once upon a time, there was a man who lived beneath the stairs. But we'll save that for Spooky Month. We'll do some spooky readings. I think it'd be fun. And I can go black and white. I don't want to set the world on fire. I just want to start a flame in your heart. Back to my favorite color, though. Of course, if you want to provide goth poetry, I would happily read it. I could read Edgar Allan Poe. Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered weak and weary over many quaint and curious volumes of forgotten lore, while I nodded nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of someone gently rapping on my chamber door. "'Tis a visitor," I muttered. "Only this and nothing more." Okay, time to wake up a little bit. Can't go to sleep yet. I have things I need to do. So, we're gonna find something to read into. I hope you had as lovely as a time as I did. Let's see what we have. We need to keep with the ASMR vibes, don't we? I don't want to wake anybody up yet. Okay, that she does porn, which is not the vibe I'm looking for right now. Not that I mind it, but you know, not the best energy right away. Steph it on. Wait. Oh, Steph. Are they reading? I need to see something real quick. Okay. We'll find somebody else. We'll find somebody else. Oh no. Okay. Okay. Let's see who we have. Let's see. Okay. That's just ear licking. That is. They're drinking coffee. That sounds fun. Nope, that's just traditional ASMR. She has a gun. Okay. No, not what I'm looking for. That one is touching pillows. Lullabies. Hey, it's me. Hi, me. Dewey VT. Not what I'm looking for. There must be someone. There must be someone. Atmospheric sleepy bass. What is this? Hi, Pink. We're looking for somebody to read. Oh, it's not working. The B movie script. That sounds lovely. Yeah, it's boring. That one's shaving. That's a cat. This person should be banned. Why is it always so hard for me to find what I'm looking for? Jaden Storage. Okay, let's take a look. Not really chill enough, but I guess we really don't have many choices, do we? Alright, we'll do it, Y'all say hi. Be good. Appreciate y'all so very, very much. And I will see y'all next time. Do a little LuckyJene. Do. Thank you all for hanging out with me for so long. Please copy the right message. And I will see you all next time. Don't forget, tomorrow, 3:30 a.m. MST. More of this. Though I might be teaching D&D. We'll see. Good night, lovelies. Darlings. I'll be the last one of you.